Right. So you wanted to get the lowdown on kickboxing
Mm-hmm.
and some pretty wild tech that could really change the game.
Yeah.
I'm talking about IsoTone.
Right.
And they sent us this kickboxing.pdf.
Okay.
And it sounds like they're going for a full-on training revolution.
Yeah, it's a pretty ambitious goal for sure.
Definitely.
But before we get into the tech itself,
Right.
let's make sure everyone's on the same page about what kickboxing even is.
Yeah, not everyone listening might be super familiar with it.
Right. It's more than just like throwing punches and kicks.
Right.
Kickboxing is this blend of boxing skills with these powerful strikes you see in martial arts, like Muay Thai and karate.
Oh, yeah.
Think about like jab, cross, uppercut.
Yeah.
All those classic boxing moves.
Uh-huh.
But then you add in like roundhouse kicks, front kicks, side kicks.
Oh, yeah, and those knee and elbow strikes.
Oh, exactly.
Can you get in close?
Exactly.
Let's get real.
It's such a dynamic sport.
Yeah.
It needs speed, agility, technique, and strategy.
Oh, for sure.
All in one.
Yeah.
And that's why this IsoTone device has got me interested.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was just about to get to.
Okay.
IsoTone is saying their device is lightweight, portable, and get this,
Yeah.
it automatically changes the resistance based on how much force you use.
Now that's a game changer.
I know, right?
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Instead of lifting the same weight every time,
Right.
the resistance goes up the harder you push or pull.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
It's like having a training partner who can match your intensity perfectly.
Exactly.
Always pushing you harder.
Yeah. And in a sport like kickboxing,
Mm-hmm.
where speed and power are so crucial,
Right.
that adaptability could be huge.
Yeah.
They actually give this hypothetical situation in the document.
Oh, really?
They want us to picture a kickboxer training with the device.
Okay, interesting.
And then they ask these two really interesting questions.
Yeah, those questions are really interesting.
Yeah.
Like, first I ask if the idea behind IsoTone training would give you a real competitive edge.
In other words,
Mm-hmm.
can this tech actually make you a better fighter?
Right, exactly.
And then the second question,
Mm-hmm.
they ask if a kickboxer would be worried if their opponent was using IsoTone, and they weren't.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it makes you think about the mental side of things.
Yeah.
Like,
Does knowing your opponent might have better tech mess with your confidence?
exactly.
Yeah.
It's amazing how IsoTone makes us think about
Yeah.
not just the physical benefits,
Mm-hmm.
but also the mental ones.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's break down why IsoTone thinks this device can help.
Okay.
What's their reasoning?
Well, they highlight all those key traits we talked about.
Yeah.
Speed, agility, power, technique, strategy, and mental toughness.
Right.
They say those are essential for being good at kickboxing.
Yeah.
Right.
And how does IsoTone say they can help with all that?
It all goes back to that adaptive resistance.
Okay.
They're saying that by constantly challenging your muscles,
Yeah.
it can improve your speed, power, and agility at the same time.
Okay, I see.
It's like running on a treadmill that gets
Yeah.
faster the faster you run.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Yeah.
I like that.
The more effort you put in, the more it demands of you.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, so it's like this device is always pushing you to do better.
Exactly.
But how does that actually work for kickboxing?
Imagine you're a fighter practicing kicks
Okay.
with IsoTone.
Yeah.
The harder and faster you kick, the more resistance you get back.
Oh, wow.
It's like teaching your muscles to explode with every strike.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So it's like training your body to react instantly.
exactly.
Wow.
And they also talk about the mental side of things.
Oh, yeah. What about that?
This is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Even if the physical benefits are still kind of theoretical,
Hmm.
the mental impact is real.
Yeah.
The idea that you have this tech edge could make you more confident,
Oh, for sure.
or it could intimidate your opponent.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
It's like a mental advantage before the fight even starts.
Yeah.
Just the thought of your opponent training with this cool new tech
Right.
could make you doubt yourself.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So it really shows how much psychology affects how athletes perform.
Yeah. Big time.
But we should mention that IsoTone themselves say this is all theoretical.
Right.
Like the kickboxing training hasn't actually been tested in a real fight yet.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so it all sounds promising,
Uh-huh.
but we need to see real results before we can really judge it.
Right. Yeah, it's all good in theory.
Exactly.
But the real world's a different beast.
In sports science,
Mm-hmm.
seeing it work in real life is everything.
Totally agree.
It's one thing to have a good idea,
Right.
but it's another to see it work when it matters.
Yeah, for sure.
So IsoTone is making some big claims,
They are.
but we're still waiting to see if they're true.
Right. The jury's still out.
Yeah.
Exactly. We've seen some interesting possibilities,
Mhm.
both physically and mentally. But we need more information to say anything, for sure.
We do.
And speaking of information,
Yeah.
I'm curious about the specifics of this IsoTone training.
Okay.
What kind of exercises and drills are they talking about?
Well, they mentioned a custom program specifically for boosting speed,
Okay.
but they didn't give a ton of detail in the document.
Okay. Well, I'm sure we can figure some things out.
Yeah.
Based on what we know about kickboxing and how
Right.
IsoTone is supposed to work.
Uh-huh.
We know speed is super important
Oh, absolutely.
in the sport.
It's crucial.
Yeah, both for attack and defense.
It's the difference between knocking someone out
Right.
or getting knocked out yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all about reaction time, timing, and reflexes.
For sure.
You need to be able to dodge attacks
Right.
while setting up your own strikes at the same time.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
And that's where IsoTone says their device can really help.
Exactly. They're claiming that by making your muscles react faster and stronger, it can improve your overall reaction time.
Oh, wow.
It's like bridging the gap
Okay.
between strength training and speed training.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see how it all ties together.
Yeah.
Because traditionally,
Right.
you lift weights to get strong and you do drills to get faster.
Yeah.
They've always been separate.
Exactly.
But IsoTone is saying they don't have to be.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
What's exciting
Yeah.
is that it might let you train in a way.
Uh-huh.
That's more like what you actually do in the sport.
Right.
Because in kickboxing, you need both strength and speed.
Oh, yeah, totally.
It's not enough to just be powerful.
Right.
You got to be able to use that power quickly and accurately.
Exactly.
Think about those super fast jabs and powerful roundhouse kicks.
Mm-hmm.
They take incredible precision and timing
Right.
along with raw power.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a tough balance to strike.
Yeah.
And it seems like IsoTone is trying to help with that
Mm-hmm.
using their tech.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting concept.
It is.
But I keep thinking back to what they said. Even a tiny edge counts.
Right.
When you're at the top levels of competition.
Yeah.
The difference between winning and losing is super small.
Absolutely.
So even if IsoTone only makes you a little bit better, it could still be enough to win.
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's something we can only find out
Right.
by actually testing it out.
Exactly. We need to see it in action.
Yeah, in the real world.
You know,
Yeah.
this whole IsoTone thing, it reminds me of something we talked about before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What's that?
Remember that deep dive on data analytics in basketball?
Oh, yeah. I see what you mean.
How teams were using data to get better at everything.
Yeah.
Like choosing shots and defense.
Right, right.
And some people said it was giving them an unfair advantage.
It did raise questions
Yeah.
about what makes an advantage fair in sports.
Exactly.
Is it just natural talent,
Right.
or is it about using tech and data well?
Yeah, it seems like we're seeing the same debate with IsoTone and kickboxing.
It really does.
It's all part of how sports are changing.
Yeah.
As technology gets better, it's
Yeah.
finding its way into training and competition.
Right.
And that's making us rethink what it means to be a top athlete.
Yeah. It's an interesting time for sports.
It is.
It's forcing us to ask some tough questions.
Yeah,
Is raw talent enough anymore?
right.
Or do you need to be using the latest tech and training methods?
Yeah. It's a tricky question.
It is.
No easy answers,
No,
but it's a conversation worth having for sure.
absolutely.
And I think this IsoTone thing is just the beginning.
I think you're right.
We're just seeing the start of a much bigger trend,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to be fascinating to see how it all plays out.
It really is.
Now, this
Yeah.
whole discussion about IsoTone and its effect on kickboxing
What?
brings up another important point.
What's that?
What about the ethics of using this kind of technology
Right.
in a sport that's all about physical fighting?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Where do we draw the line
Mm-hmm.
between making athletes better
Yeah,
and keeping them safe?
that's a really important question.
It is.
And it's a complicated
Oh,
one.
sure.
We need to make sure that trying to win
Right.
doesn't end up hurting the athletes.
Exactly. We can't sacrifice safety for an edge.
Right. It's a balancing act.
Yeah.
And it needs careful thought
Mm.
from scientists, engineers, athletes, coaches, and doctors.
Yeah, everyone needs to be involved.
Exactly.
We need to talk openly and honestly about these things to make sure the future of sports is both competitive and safe.
I agree. That's the goal.
It is.
Yeah,
This deep dive is really making us think,
it is.
could IsoTone become like the standard thing in every kickboxing gym?
It could.
Wow.
And if it really does what they say,
Mm-hmm.
it could change the whole sport. We might even see other combat sports start using it.
Oh, really?
Like boxing
Right.
or MMA.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about
It is.
how technology could change these sports so much.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the physical training either.
Right.
Remember those questions from IsoTone?
Yeah.
One about whether a fighter would freak out
Right.
if their opponent had the tech?
Yeah.
That gets into a whole different side of things.
Yeah, the mental game.
Exactly.
Like, is there a point where the mental impact of tech
Wow.
becomes just as important as the physical stuff?
Exactly.
Huh.
And it's not just about individual fighters either.
Oh, right.
Imagine whole teams or gyms having this advanced training.
Wow.
You could totally shift the balance of power in the sport.
Yeah.
Create a whole new dynamic.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know, it reminds me of this conversation I had
Okay.
with a friend who's really into cycling.
Yeah.
He was telling me how power meters have totally changed things
Really?
for cyclists, how they train and compete.
Wow.
It used to be all about feel
Mm-hmm.
and intuition,
Right.
but now they have all this data
Okay.
to track their performance
Yeah.
and make their training plans better.
Wow. So they're using data to get an edge.
Exactly. It's a great example of how technology
Yeah.
can bring more precision and insight
Uh,
to how athletes train.
right.
And I think we're seeing the same thing happening with IsoTone and kickboxing.
Okay.
They're not just saying they can make fighters stronger or faster.
Right.
They're talking about a whole training program
Mm-hmm.
that's designed for the specific needs of the sport.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
They mentioned a custom program for speed, right?
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
And even though they didn't give a lot of details,
Uh-huh.
I think we can guess a few things.
Okay.
Knowing what we know about IsoTone's adaptive resistance,
Right.
I bet the program focuses on explosive movements,
Okay.
quick reactions,
Mm-hmm.
and drills that mimic those fast combos.
Yeah.
You see in kickboxing,
Yeah, that makes sense.
they wanted to train the fighter's muscles to react instantly and powerfully,
Okay.
just like in a real fight.
So they're basically training their reflexes to be faster.
Exactly. And because IsoTone can change resistance so quickly,
Right.
they could even program it
Right?
to be like a real fight
Oh, wow.
where you don't know what's coming next.
Interesting.
Yeah. So instead of hitting a stationary target,
Yeah.
the fighter is always dealing with different levels of resistance.
Okay.
So they have to think on their feet.
Wow. So it's like a super advanced sparring partner.
Exactly.
Wow. That would be an amazing training tool.
It would.
But the real test is, does it actually make you better in a real fight?
Of course, that's the big question.
Yeah.
And like we said before,
Mhm.
it's something we can only answer with real-world testing.
Right. We need to see it in action.
But the possibilities are definitely exciting.
Yeah, they are.
This IsoTone technology has really got me thinking.
Me too.
It's like something out of a sci-fi movie.
I know, right?
It's a glimpse into the future of sports.
Yeah.
Where technology is becoming a bigger and bigger part of everything.
Yeah.
But as we get more and more tech,
Mm-hmm.
we can't forget that technology is just a tool.
Right.
It's up to us to use it the right way.
Yeah. And ethically.
Exactly.
We can't let the desire to win make us forget about fair play,
Right.
sportsmanship, and the safety of the athletes.
Exactly.
Right?
As we move into this new era of sports,
Yeah.
we need to be smart
Mm-hmm.
about how we use technology
Yeah, right.
and make sure it makes things better,
Yeah.
not worse.
This whole conversation about isotone and kickboxing, it's really just a small part of a much bigger conversation
Right.
about technology and sports in general.
It makes you wonder,
Yeah.
what other sports could use this kind of adaptive resistance training?
Right.
And where's the line between improving performance?
And cheating.
It's a good question.
We've seen similar debates in cycling, swimming,
Mm-hmm.
even track and field.
Oh, yeah. Remember those high-tech swimsuits?
Yeah.
They got banned
They did.
because they gave swimmers too much of an advantage.
It's a slippery slope for sure.
It is.
And it shows how important it is
Yeah.
for the people in charge of these sports
Right.
to stay ahead of the game,
Yeah.
always looking at new technologies
Yeah.
and making clear rules
Yeah.
to keep things fair.
You know, the more we talk about this,
Yeah.
the more I think about what is the real point of sports.
That's a big question.
It is.
Yeah.
Is it just about pushing human limits, no matter what tools we use?
Right.
Or is there something more to it?
Wow. That's a deep question.
It is.
It really gets at the heart
Yeah.
of what it means to be human.
Right.
And what it means to try to be the best.
Is it about grit and determination and working your butt off to get better? Yeah.
Or does technology become part of that?
It's complicated.
There are no easy answers.
There aren't.
But it's definitely a conversation worth having.
Absolutely.
Because the future of sports depends on it.
It does.
We need to figure out how to use technology in a way that keeps the spirit of competition alive, but also keeps the game fair.
And safe.
And safe for everyone.
Absolutely.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does make you think,
It does.
Like, where do we draw the line?
Right.
Between what's natural talent and what's technology.
It's getting harder and harder to tell the difference.
Yeah, it really is.
And it's not just in sports either.
Yeah, it's true.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder what it even means to be human anymore.
I know, right?
With all this tech changing everything so fast.
This whole thing about IsoTone and how athletes train, it makes me think about what it means for everyone else.
Oh, yeah.
If tech can give athletes such a big advantage,
right?
What does that mean for us regular folks?
It's like, what if one day we all need tech just to keep up in the world?
Wow.
Not just athletes.
It's like a sci-fi movie or something.
I know, right?
But it could actually happen.
It could?
We need to start thinking about this stuff now.
Before it's too late.
Before we can't even imagine life without all this tech.
Exactly. We need to talk about the ethics of it all.
Yeah.
The social impact. The economic side of things.
Yes.
We got to make sure technology helps people.
Yeah.
Not the other way around.
That's a good point.
It brings us back to the basics.
Okay.
Of sportsmanship.
Right.
Fair play. And working hard to be your best.
Yeah. Those things never go out of style.
They don't.
No matter how much tech we have.
They're about the human spirit.
Yeah.
The drive to push yourself. To overcome obstacles. To be great.
And that's what really matters.
It is.
At the end of the day. Tech can help us do amazing things. But it's our heart.
Yeah.
Our passion. Our dedication.
That's what makes us human.
That's what makes us who we are.
Exactly.
Well said.
Well, on that note.
Yeah.
I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
Yeah, I think so too.
We've covered a lot today.
We have.
Kickboxing, this crazy IsoTone technology, and what all this means for sports and even society.
It's been a really thought-provoking conversation.
It has.
Hopefully it's made everyone listening think about these things a little more deeply.
As always,
Yeah.
we encourage you to keep asking questions.
Keep learning.
And keep pushing the boundaries.
Yeah, because the future is full of possibilities.
It is.
And we get to decide what it looks like.
So let's make it a good one.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
Until next time.
See ya.